What do widows need to know about claiming survivor's benefits? Well, here to talk with me about that topic is Kurt Czarnowski, a renowned Social Security expert. Kurt, welcome.
Hey, Bob. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. So I know this topic often troubles widows. They're not quite sure what to expect when they go to file for their survivor's benefits. Can you walk us through what they need to know?
Sure. And, I always like to start discussion on this by saying it's a really important part about the Social Security program is people need to understand it's a complete package of protection for workers and their families. These days, most people focus solely on the retirement side, which is a hugely important part. And the vast majority of people who do collect retirement benefits. But a key part of the Social Security program is the survivor benefit protection for workers and their families when a worker passes away. Now, there's two avenues in the survivor program: younger families and then widows and widowers. We'll focus on the widows and widowers today, but people shouldn't overlook the disability protection, the survivor benefit protection that comes with Social Security in addition to the retirement benefits. But let's talk about survivor benefits under the Social Security program. Now, bit of preference. For the past 15 or 20 years or so, as you and I well know, there were a number of esoteric claiming strategies that were all the rage, ways that couples could optimize or maximize their lifetime Social Security benefits. And one of those claiming strategies went by the term claim some now, claim more later. And it was a way that someone who had hit his or her full retirement age could opt to collect just a spousal benefit, continue to defer collecting his or her own payment, accrue those delayed retirement credits, and then swoop back in at age 70 and claim a higher retirement benefit, although they had been receiving this spousal payment at the same time. This was a great deal. In fact, Congress thought it was such a great deal, they decided to eliminate it. And with passage of something called the Bipartisan Budget Bill of 2015 in November of 2015, they basically eliminated this claiming strategy for anyone born January 2nd, 1954 or later. But as a result of that, there's been a lot of continued confusion as people say, okay, well, this strategy has been gone away. And so that the old strategy or ability of survivors to claim on one account and then switch to another account, a lot of people mistakenly think that's been eliminated as well. That was left untouched. So the basic survivor benefit program says if you were married to someone who had worked and paid into the Social Security program who has passed away, you're eligible to collect a monthly Social Security survivor payment, the amount of which is based on the work and earnings of that deceased spouse. Under the survivor program, you can collect as early as the month you turn age 60, which is a little bit earlier than on the retirement program or spousal program, where the earliest age is 62. But key concept is with survivor benefits as well as retirement benefits, if you opt to collect prior to reaching your Social Security full retirement age, well, because now, in theory anyway, by starting sooner, you'll be collecting for a longer period of time, you're going to find your monthly payment amount gets reduced. Start sooner, get a lower amount, but the trade-off, obviously, you get that lower amount sooner and in theory for a longer period of time. But widows and widowers can collect based on the work record of the deceased spouse as early as age 60. If they opt to start prior to full retirement age, they're going to get a reduced amount. But people also need to understand that widows and widowers who have worked and paid into the Social Security program have an additional option available to them, meaning they can, as early as age 62, collect a retirement benefit based on their own work record. Same concept holds. You start to collect prior to reaching full retirement age, you're going to get a lower amount than you would if you waited and started at your full retirement age. But with survivor benefits for folks who have worked and paid into the program, a key concept is you can sequence the collection of benefit payments. Opt to start, collect, say, a reduced amount on one account, and then switch at a later date and collect a full, perhaps unreduced or even higher amount on the other account. Key thing, Bob, you collect on one account to the other at a time. You don't get both full benefits at once, but it is possible to sequence the collection. And bipartisan budget bill did not eliminate that as an option for survivor benefits, although they did in the case of spousal benefits. But what are some of the other things that people need to be thinking about in terms of this? Well, the big issue first is I mentioned full retirement age. Now, that's a key concept under the program. When it started back in 1935, full retirement age was 65 for everybody. Starting in 1983, Congress changed the law, increased full retirement age for anyone born 1938 or later. This full retirement age for retirement benefits, a lot of people are aware of, has been gradually increasing. People born between 43 and 54, it's been age 66, but continues to increase, tops out anyone born 1960 or later, has a Social Security full retirement age as the month they turn age 67. Now, collecting at your full retirement age means one thing and one thing only: you get 100% of your benefit. But what a lot of people don't understand in terms of the survivor program is that there's a difference in what is considered someone's full retirement age for survivor benefits as opposed to retirement benefits. For example, someone born in 1956, his or her full retirement age for Social Security retirement benefits is the month he or she reaches age 66 and 4 months. But under the law, for that person, full retirement age for survivor benefits is still the month they turn age 66. So this difference impacts anyone born basically 1955 through 1961. So it's important to understand, in looking at survivor benefits, to understand what your full retirement age is for survivor benefits, because it isn't necessarily going to be the same as full retirement age for retirement benefits. Why is that important? Well, a number of reasons, but one of which is, as we've talked about, or others have talked about, under the rules of the program, if you're looking to collect Social Security retirement or survivor benefits, but intending to work at the same time, you're subject to an earnings limitation that limits how much you can collect. You make over the allowed amount for a particular year, Social Security holds back $1 in benefits for every $2 that you're over the threshold. But the key thing is that earnings limitation goes away when someone reaches his or her full retirement age. So from full retirement age on, you can work and earn as much as you'd like and collect full benefit payments at the same time. Why is this important? Well, we talked about the difference in full retirement age for somebody for survivor benefits and retirement benefits. So somebody turning 66 this year, born in 1956, who's a widow or widower, they reach their full retirement age the month they turn 66 for survivor benefit purposes, meaning they could opt to collect a survivor benefit at that point, even though they were still working, making $1 million a year. On the retirement side, they would have to wait until 66 years and 4 months for that earnings limitation to go away. But there is this distinction in full retirement age for this limited number of people born between 1955 and 1961. So it's important to understand that. But again, the key thing is you can collect on one account or the other. You don't collect on both at once. So in terms of an overall claiming strategy, something for people to keep in mind is this, and I never tell people what they should do. With both retirement benefits and survivor benefits, you start before you've hit your full retirement age, your payment's reduced. You get that lower amount, roughly about the same amount, about 0.5% per month for each month you start to collect. But between survivor benefits and retirement benefits, there's an important distinction that if you choose to wait past full retirement age before starting to claim, on the retirement side, yeah, you accrue what are called delayed retirement credits, and your payment increases by 0.2% per month, 8% per year, for as long as you don't collect right up until age 70. So deferring collection of your own retirement benefit past your full retirement age, you can see that benefit grow by 0.2% per month. There is no equivalent delayed retirement credit increase in a survivor benefit. With survivor benefits, sure, you start sooner, you get less, but there's no additional increase by waiting past full retirement age before starting. So in many ways, in terms of sequencing, and it's totally dependent on the relative benefit amounts, and Social Security can help people work this through, but something to consider is, even if somebody continues to work at a full-time basis, by starting a survivor benefit at full retirement age, they can receive that payment if they're still working. Meanwhile, because they're not collecting their own retirement benefit, they'll be accruing those delayed retirement credits, growing their benefit 2/3% per month, 8% per year, right up until age 70. You could do the reverse, but you're not going to see any additional increase in the survivor payment by waiting past full retirement age to collect it. So a lot of moving parts here, a lot of things for people to think about, but key point is with survivor benefits, can collect as early as age 60. With survivor benefits, going to be based on the work record of the deceased spouse. However, if somebody has worked and paid into the system, his or her own self, there's the possibility of collecting a retirement benefit and a survivor benefit, not both at the same time, but you can sequence the collection and optimize your lifetime Social Security benefits that way.
All right, Kurt, you answered a lot, but I've got one question. So let's presume, for instance, that the primary wage earner waited until age 70 to collect their Social Security, and their spouses say, I don't know, 4 years younger. The spouse claims spousal benefits, and then the primary wage earner dies. Talk a little bit about what changes there in terms of spousal to survivor benefits.
Great question. So in terms of spousal benefits, and that's what Social Security refers to, where both members of the couple are still alive. All right. Now, program's totally gender neutral, works equally well either way. But let's say it's a typical situation where the husband's been the higher earner, the wife perhaps stay-at-home mom, things like that. What the law says is husband gets a benefit based on whatever his work record was. The wife, as a spouse, can receive a benefit equal to 50% of the husband's full retirement age amount. Now, that was always the case in the 50s and 60s with June Cleaver and Donna Reed and people like that. But it's important to note, the law also says you can get that 50% of the higher earner's full retirement age amount, or your own, one or the other, whichever one is higher. You don't get both at once. So it's going to be a comparison. 50% of the full retirement age amount or the individual's own benefit. Now, that full retirement age amount, 50%, that's at full retirement age. You claim it early, you get less. But in terms of survivor benefits, the basic rate here is a little bit more generous. And the payment is based not on 50% of the full retirement age amount, but it's 100% of what the deceased was collecting or would have been collecting had they started drawing benefits. Oh yeah, still, or the person's own, one or the other. Again, we talked about that. You collect on one or the other. So an important thing to note in deciding when to collect someone's own retirement benefit, it's important to note that by opting to defer, not only is your own benefit higher than it would be if you claimed it sooner, but it also means that any survivor payment that could be made upon your passing is going to be higher as well, because it's going to be based on 100% of what the deceased was collecting at the time of death or would have been collecting. So for example, someone hits full retirement age of 67 and tends to wait until age 70, passes away a year later at age 68. The survivor benefit is going to be based on that age 68 amount. So it'll be 8% higher than the full retirement age amount. And so while the deceased worker never benefits from having deferred, it does indeed mean a survivor benefit that is going to be higher because of that delay. I tend to think for many reasons, good things can come to those who wait.
Right. And does it matter if the surviving spouse is FRA and older or FRA and younger?
Very important question. So if the surviving spouse is at his or her survivor full retirement age, then that's when they'll get 100% of what the deceased was collecting. They opt to collect a survivor benefit prior to reaching full retirement age. That amount is going to be reduced because they're claiming it early. And as I mentioned before, there's no advantage to waiting past full retirement age before taking the survivor benefit because there's no equivalent to the delayed retirement credit. But an important point, a safeguard that's built into the program for survivors. As I said, yeah, generally, it's going to be based on 100% of what the deceased was collecting at the time of death. But there is a safeguard built in. So let's say you have somebody who had a full retirement age of 66. And at age 66, would have gotten $1,000 a month. But that person opted to start collecting at the earliest possible point at age 62. The way the reduction factor worked out, they'd have gotten 75% of their full retirement age amount, or would have been collecting $750 a month. Normally, that person then passes away. The widow's benefit is going to be based on that $750. However, the law has a widow's limitation safeguard built into it, which says that the survivor payment can't be any less than 82.5% of what the deceased's full retirement age amount was. So in that case, instead of getting $750, they'll get $825 a month. So there is that safeguard built in, but generally it's based on 100% of what the deceased was collecting or would have been collecting had they started drawing benefits at the time they passed away. The other important thing is it's driven by the age of the surviving spouse, all right? Not the age that the deceased was at. And an important factor too is you have a spouse who collects early benefits. As long as he or she is at his or her full retirement age when their spouse passes away, they're going to get 100% of what the deceased was collecting. That opting early impacts what can be paid until the other member of the couple passes away.
Mm-hmm. So for folks who might want more information, the Social Security website or Social Security customer services agents?
Absolutely. Social Security's website has a great deal of information. There's a link right to survivor benefits, walks you through. Now, just a couple of things in terms of the practical issues these days. You know, in terms of applying for retirement benefits, you can apply online. And I encourage retirement or spousal benefits. You can apply online using Social Security's online retirement application, which I recommend for people heartily. Now, caution, to use that online retirement application, you do need to have established a My Social Security account for yourself, which is another reason why someone should do it now. Set it up. You have the ability to get a Social Security statement for yourself whenever you need one, but it does allow you to apply for benefits online. But again, that's only for retirement or spousal benefits. Someone who's interested in collecting survivor benefits, there is no online capability of that yet. And so you will need to contact Social Security, make an appointment. Right now, Social Security offices are beginning to reopen to the public on a phased-in basis. So you may be able to make an appointment for an in-person interview at a local office, but at a minimum, you can make an appointment for a telephone interview. But for survivor benefits, you do need to have someone from Social Security help you. You can't just file online for survivor benefits yet.
Right. And you'll need certain things like a death certificate and other documentation.
Correct. Proof of marriage. Marriage needs to have lasted at least 9 months to be eligible for survivor benefits, although there are exceptions if somebody is killed in an accident. Generally, you would have to provide proof of your age, but Social Security has taken a lot of steps in terms of reducing the numbers of times you need to provide proof of age, and also a death certificate, although in many cases, Social Security may have received that information previously. Lots of times funeral directors do provide that, but basically proof of age, proof of marriage, proof of death going to be required.
All right. So one last question. Obviously, there's a $250 payment that comes upon the death of the spouse. You don't have to claim survivor's benefits in order to be eligible for that. Is that correct?
No, Bob, I want to correct you. It is a one-time, paltry, and pathetic $255 lump sum death benefit that is paid. Now, a little bit of history back in the day, there was this death benefit that was paid for anyone who had worked and paid into the system and who had passed away. But back in 1983, Congress tightened up the numbers of people who can collect that $255 lump sum death benefit. It's basically a surviving spouse or surviving kids who are going to be eligible for benefits. So it's really tightened up the number of people who can collect, but that's a separate determination. You're a widow at age 55. You're not old enough to collect a monthly Social Security survivor benefit, but yes, indeed, you can collect that one time, as I said, paltry $255 lump sum death benefit, the amount of which has remained unchanged for maybe 50 years or so.
Well, Kurt, we've covered a lot of ground. Anything that we missed or anything that just bears reemphasizing?
No, again, I just always like to end where I started. You know, Social Security, it's more than a retirement program. And the survivor benefit program, hugely important part of it. And people just need to be aware of the benefits that do accrue, you tragically lose a loved one, there are ways that Social Security can step in and provide a measure of financial security.
Well, Kurt, it's always a pleasure chatting with you and having you share your knowledge and wisdom with our viewers and readers. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Bob. Always a pleasure.